Baseball's big savior in 2023? Not a new Babe Ruth, not a corked ball, not even robo-umps with laser eyes. It was a clock. Yep, the sport that bragged about being timeless finally admitted, okay, maybe timeless is just another word for boring. Toss in a rule that told infielders to quit playing hopscotch in the outfield, and suddenly games got faster, crisper, and less like watching Nomar Garcia Parra readjust his gloves for 3 straight hours. A sport without a clock meets its first stopwatch. For more than a century, baseball carried itself like that one friend who's always late and insists, "Relax, I'm on baseball time." The rhythm of the game was as slow as molasses in January, with pitchers pacing around the mound like philosophers and hitters stepping out of the box to re-velcro their batting gloves after every foul ball. In 2023, that all changed when MLB introduced the pitch clock. 15 seconds with the bases empty, 20 seconds with runners on. Suddenly, pitchers had to get on with it and hitters had to stop auditioning for Broadway every at-bat. The result, games got shorter, a lot shorter. The average game time in 2023 dropped to 2 hours and 40 minutes, the lowest since the mid-1980s. That's a 24-minute haircut compared to 2022. In 2024, MLB trimmed the clock further, giving pitchers only 18 seconds with runners on, and the average game time slipped to about 2 hours and 36 minutes. That's the fastest pace since 1984, when stirrups were high, mustaches were thicker, and the Kansas City Royals were World Series champions. For the first time in decades, you could actually plan dinner after a ball game without risking a midnight reservation. The death of the extreme shift. Then there's the shift ban. For years, defenses had been dragging their infielders around like chess pieces, sticking a second baseman in shallow right, a shortstop in deep second, and daring left-handed hitters to bunt, or just quietly ground out to a guy standing in the outfield grass. Fans hated it, hitters hated it, and honestly, the optics were awful. Nothing kills the vibe of a rally like a screaming line drive to right that lands squarely in the glove of a guy who shouldn't even be there. So MLB put its foot down, 2 infielders on each side of second, and all 4 infielders must keep their cleats on the dirt. The change didn't create a sudden explosion of offense. No one woke up hitting .400 again, but it did nudge batting averages upward. In 2023, league average rose from .243 to .248, and batting average on balls in play climbed to .297. For left-handed hitters, the shift ban was like finally getting the Wi-Fi password at a coffee shop. Their on-base percentage and BABIP jumped by about 9 points. A small but meaningful bump in a sport where even single-digit improvements can change careers. More importantly, the shift ban restored some of the game's natural beauty. Infielders now had to make diving stops and show off their range again instead of hiding behind prearranged geometry. The result? More highlights, more action, and fewer boos from the bleachers. Stolen bases. But if the pitch clock was about pace and the shift ban was about fairness, the changes to pickoffs and bigger bases were about chaos, and glorious chaos at that. When MLB increased base size from 15 inches to 18 inches and limited pitchers to 2 pickoff attempts per plate appearance, they basically put a neon sign on first base that read, "Run, Forrest, run." And boy, did players take the hint. In 2023, stolen base attempts skyrocketed, and success rates hovered above 80%. By 2024, MLB recorded its highest stolen base total since 1915. That's not a typo, 1915. The dead ball era just called to say, nice work. What had once been a relic of 80s baseball, think Rickey Henderson tormenting pitchers, Vince Coleman terrorizing catchers, was suddenly back in vogue. The math was irresistible, with pitchers forced to hurry, fewer throwovers, and a couple of extra inches of runway between the bags, base runners could attack with confidence. The pitch clock had a butterfly effect. What began as a stopwatch on the mound ended with a storm of stolen bases on the base paths. How pitchers and hitters adjusted. Of course, change never comes easy in baseball. Pitchers were the first to feel the squeeze without long pauses to reset. Some saw their velocity dip slightly over longer outings, and a few struggled to maintain sharpness deep into games. ERA and WHIP ticked upward across the league in 2023, though not dramatically, and most arms eventually found a rhythm. For pitchers like Max Scherzer, the adjustment wasn't physical so much as psychological. He famously used the clock itself as a weapon. quick-pitching hitters who weren't quite ready. It was gamesmanship reimagined. Hitters, on the other hand, had to speed up their own routines, no more taking a vacation outside the batter's box between pitches, but they also faced pitchers who had less time to carefully plot every sequence. Combined with fewer shifts robbing them of clean hits, hitters found themselves in a slightly fairer fight. Some, especially those contact-heavy lefties, immediately benefited. Others shrugged and kept swinging for the fences because, let's face it, the home run still rules the highlight reel, the fan experience. Let's be honest, this was always about the fans. Baseball knew it had a pace of play problem. 3-hour-plus marathons, even if packed with drama, were turning off casual viewers and pushing families away. The new rules fixed that. In 2023, attendance rose by over 9%, the biggest jump in 3 decades. In 2024, attendance climbed again to more than 71 million, the highest since 2017. Fans weren't just coming back, they were staying engaged. The game was tighter, crisper, and more digestible. For parents, it meant the kids could see the 9th inning on a school night. For younger fans, it meant less dead air to scroll through TikTok. And for diehards, it meant more action in less time. There were even ripple effects inside the stadium. Many teams extended beer sales past the 7th inning because the 7th inning now arrived before fans had even finished their second hot dog. It was a win-win. Fans enjoyed the game more and owners still cashed in at the concession stands. Did offense really explode? Not exactly. It's tempting to think banning the shift and rushing pitchers would create a home run derby, but the reality is more subtle. In 2023, run scoring rose to 4.62 per team per game, up from 4.28 the year before. But in 2024, offense dipped again to around 4.39. The shift ban gave some life back to singles. The pitch clock kept pitchers off balance and stolen bases surged. But the game didn't transform into a 12-10 slugfest every night. Baseball is still baseball. Pitching depth, ballpark dimensions, weather, and the occasional mysterious change in baseball, manufacturing all matter just as much. The rule changes nudged the sport in a new direction, but they didn't rewrite its DNA. The drama survived. Critics of the pitch clock worried that the rule would drain the tension out of the game. After all, wasn't baseball supposed to be about slow burn suspense? Wouldn't forcing a pitcher to throw faster cheapen the moment? Turns out, no. In fact, postseason games in 2023 were the fastest in nearly 30 years, with 9-inning World Series contests averaging just over 3 hours. And the drama was still there. Fans still held their breath for every 3-2 pitch, still rode the roller coaster of October baseball. The only difference? They weren't checking their watches between pitches. Baseball's butterfly effect, perhaps the most fascinating thing about these rule changes, is how interconnected they turned out to be. The pitch clock wasn't just about saving time, it indirectly fueled the stolen base surge. The shift ban wasn't just about restoring hits, it forced infielders to showcase their athleticism again. Limiting pickoffs didn't just speed things up, it created whole new layers of cat and mouse tension between pitcher, runner, and catcher. Each adjustment reverberated through the game like dominoes falling. Baseball didn't become a different sport, but it did become a livelier, more balanced one. And that's the story of how a ticking clock and a shift ban brought baseball back to life. What do you think? Did MLB finally fix the game, or are there still too many quirks left on the field? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I'd love to hear your take. If you had fun hanging out with me and learned something new today, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe to the channel. Until then, play ball, stay awesome, and I'll catch you in the next one.